Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah Schultz. I am a realtor in the Northern Nevada market, serving Reno, Sparks, Carson, and all the surrounding areas like Fallon, Fernley, Dayton, Genoa, Minden, Gardnerville, and the like. So, on today's video, I am going to try something new I've never done here before, so I hope you guys are here for it. But anyway, today I thought it would be super helpful to share with you a case study and show you just a specific example of a client success story. If you know me, you know that I'm super duper passionate about helping my clients, and I always love when they win. This client won in a huge way, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about what that looked like in hopes that maybe I'd be able to help you in a similar way one day. So let's dive in. This story is about a home where I represented the buyer. They were purchasing a home up in Callahan Ranch, which is the 89511 zip code in our market. It's basically that area. If you're going up Mount Rose Highway, like leaving away from Reno, going towards Mount Rose, you make a left on Callahan Road, and there's a whole neighborhood back there that is beautiful, well-established, super desirable for anyone who's into anything that involves Mount Rose, skiing, hiking, biking, all the Tahoe things. It's right there. And so it makes it super desirable. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that transaction was like. And if you guys have any questions, I'm an open book. So feel free to drop them below or book a free call with me. There's a link in the description box below where you can do that. But anyway, I'm going to dive right in. The buyers of this property came to me after having a less than ideal realtor experience in the past. They were not first-time buyers, though they were very savvy. They had purchased property before on the East Coast, and although the transaction went through, they were not left feeling satisfied with their experience or the results. And I always feel remorseful for people in this situation because obviously, like, let's be real, realtors have a really bad reputation. People talk about us like used car salesmen or grimy, money-hungry people who don't care about other people. And it's just crazy to me because I just don't run my business that way. And so when a buyer or seller comes to me with that kind of experience and background, I really love the opportunity to kind of flip the script and change the narrative. And so I feel like this is a really great example of that. But one of the things that they expressed in their buyer intake discovery call was that their previous realtor didn't explain anything, didn't really go to bat for them, didn't make sure that they understood what was happening, what they were signing, what the process was. And so from the very first time we spoke, I assured them that I would make it a point to make sure that they knew exactly what was happening at all times. And I feel like in that regard, we were successful. The other challenge that they came to the table with was that they wanted to purchase a home in Callahan Ranch, right? That's a very specific neighborhood. And the price tag in that area was just averaging to be a bit above their budget. And so we had to get a little bit creative. I'm going to tell you all about what we did. So the first step I took was to connect them to one of my preferred lenders who I work with all the time. This is a local lender with a great reputation that is very skilled at kind of manipulating the numbers, looking at all angles, all possibilities, running things multiple ways just to make sure that we are exploring all possibilities. And I knew right away that these buyers would be a great fit for this lender because they were kind of wanting to buy in an area that was just ever so slightly potentially out of reach. One of the suggestions that I made was that perhaps we look at purchasing an older home, even though older homes sometimes have more repairs, more issues, more steps that you have to take to kind of bring them up to speed. As far as budget goes, usually that's going to give you maybe a little bit more wiggle room. Something also that a lot of buyers don't understand when you're financing, the older the home in our market, the lower the property tax is going to be. So that's really going to help you with your budget and your monthly payment. I am not a lender, but I work with lenders every day, and so that's something that I can confidently share with you. And these buyers were in no way interested in new construction, but I will tell you, the older the home, the lower the property tax. Also, new construction homes in our market, the property tax is 1% of the purchase price. So that comes as a little bit of a shock to a lot of buyers, especially relocating buyers. That's a lot of money to pay right out the gate. So you're going to want to make sure that you are aware of that. But anyway, back to this specific story. I suggested that we look at older homes, but that were in the ideal neighborhood. And with that, I offered right up front, hey, you know what? My dad is a retired home inspector. I take due diligence very, very seriously. I grew up attending home inspections like for fun. I would run around with the little outlet tester, the moisture meter, and be his little helper with all of the things. There's probably very little in the purchase process that is more important than your due diligence, and that entails all of your home inspections, right? So I told them, let's look at a newer home, but let's do every inspection under the sun so that you know exactly what you're getting into. You can make a really informed decision. And not only that, I've said this in other videos before, but if you want to shy away from a home inspection because of the cost, don't. Because if something's discovered, even if it's not a major thing and you don't actually plan to make that repair, you can sometimes leverage those inspection reports to get a seller credit, which is just money in your pocket, right? So often those seller credits will outweigh the cost of doing the inspection, whatever the inspection may be. So in this case, it did work out that way, but I'm gonna keep going, so don't go anywhere. For these specific buyers, we found an older home that, while it was older, it was ideal in pretty much every other way. They knew they were gonna have to remodel, do some cosmetics, finishing, updating, and that kind of thing, but it was in the perfect neighborhood. It was on a large lot. It was a single story. It's a beautiful big home with a huge garage. They had a 1-year-old daughter, lots of room for her to grow and play. It was zoned in all the right schools. I mean, it just really checked all the boxes other than it was on the older side. I always tell people that real estate is funny and that it doesn't typically work out that you end up in a house that's not meant for you, or that the house that's meant for you doesn't end up yours. It's just really weird, I swear. I'm not trying to be like woo-woo about it, but like I see it every day. And there was just something about this home. When we went to see it, there was a double rainbow, first of all. Okay, maybe I am being woo-woo, but it was just like the vibe when we pulled up. We were all just like, like this is it. And I'm gonna be really honest with you. We didn't get that home at first. We lost out to an all-cash offer, and as qualified as my buyers were, as reputable as their lender was, all the things, it's really hard to compete with cash, especially in an older home where cash buyer can waive contingencies like the appraisal and such, which that ended up being a good thing for us, but I'll get into that later. So we missed out on this home, but they were really bummed, and we decided to submit a backup offer. It's amazing how many people won't take the time to write a backup offer. If you've already written an offer, a backup offer is literally one extra page. It's so easy to write. And if you are super serious about a home and you're not getting it right off the bat, I always suggest writing a backup offer because you never know. So we did write that backup offer. We continued looking at other homes, but none of them really gave us that feeling like the home that they truly wanted. And you know what happened? It happens every time, I swear. That contract fell apart, and even though there were other offers on the table, because we had submitted that backup offer and the seller had already signed it, by default, we were given first right of refusal. And guess what happened? We got this house, which was already such an amazing victory for these buyers, but there is so much more to their story, so don't go anywhere. Given that this home was older and also in that area, almost all houses are on well, septic, have fireplaces, etc. We ended up doing a record number for me. We did the home inspection, we did a pest, we did a chimney, a fireplace, an HVAC, a radon, and a well inspection. We did all of this, and this was in the dead of winter. I have to laugh because I literally, I'm the one who curates and coordinates and facilitates all of the home inspections, and the snowpack up in that area this year was so wild. There was one of the 6 days that I spent all day in this house for these inspectors to come by. There was one day where I literally had to park up on a different street and walk down because I didn't want my car to get stuck. So that was an experience, but I am so glad that we did all of those inspections because the buyers who had told me from the beginning, hey, we didn't like how our last purchase went. Our agent kind of swept things under the rug, didn't make sure that we were on board, that we understood what we were doing and signing. Okay, well, here was my solution. Let's do every inspection known to man so that you know exactly what is going on with the house you are buying. We looked at everything. I mean, we got 9 reports back and had to dissect each one. I was able to get estimates from contractors for repairs so that we would have numbers to negotiate with the seller. One of the big things that was discovered, and this is a really big one, was that the HVAC, the furnace, had a crack in it. And if you guys aren't aware, that actually releases toxic fumes that can, at the very least, make you ill, at the worst, probably kill you. That's a huge issue, which means that the entire furnace needed to be replaced. Now, I was able to take that report, get an estimate from an HVAC company who quoted $26,000 to replace the furnace, but the furnace that this home had was actually an oil system. These buyers knew they wanted to do away with the oil, even if there was nothing wrong with it. This was their plan because oil in our market is very expensive to operate. And so they knew they wanted a heat pump. So we got the estimate to put in a heat pump, and we were able to convince the seller to split the cost of that. So I was able to negotiate with the seller and get them a $13,000 credit. On top of that, the appraisal that we had to do for the lender came in at $65,000 over asking. When that happens, the seller never sees the appraisal report unless the buyer sends it, but why would we do that? And so all they knew was that we cleared the appraisal. We were not going to show our cards and tell them, hey, we are walking into this as is without any repairs. It was $65,000 underpriced at the contract price. So the results for this whole experience were that the buyers beat out multiple offers with a backup offer. So that was our first victory. They got a $13,000 seller credit for repairs. They also got the home at $65K less than contract price, which means that they were walking into their home in their most high priority neighborhood with $78,000 of equity from day one. I mean, if that's not a success, I don't know what it is. And that is just an amazing victory for any buyer. But I was so happy to be able to help these buyers. And I would love to share with you what they said. This is taken from her post-close review. We really enjoyed working with Sarah buying our house in Reno. As a new mom and new to Reno, I found her advice on local schools and neighborhoods really helpful. I explained to her that I wanted her honest advice, and she provided that to us. It was a pretty competitive market, and Sarah was responsive when we needed to move quick on viewing and submitting an offer for our house. She helped us secure the deal by suggesting that we submit a backup offer, which was crucial when the first all-cash offer fell through. Her organization, experience, and local contacts for inspections helped in negotiating repairs before closing. It just warms my heart helping people, especially cool people. I feel like, I don't know why, but I managed to attract the coolest people. If you're a cool person, I want to work with you. But anyway, if you guys have any questions about the real estate process, relocating to Reno, anything to do with buying or selling real estate, you can book a free strategy call with me. It's no obligation. I don't like to pressure people, because if you don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you either, right? But anyway, you can book that free call with me. There's a link to do that in the show notes below. We can just connect, see if we vibe, see if I can get your questions answered and help you put a winning strategy in place. And if you haven't already, please hit that like and that subscribe button. I put out new videos each and every week about the Northern Nevada market, the Reno Sparks lifestyle, and all things to do with buying and selling real estate. Thanks so much. See you next week.